The throne room smelled of smoke and desperation. I sat stiff on the Moonfong throne, the weight of the carved stone pressing into my back as one by one, the heads of the clans bent low before me. Their voices carried the same stories I had heard 100 times in the past moons. Empty fields, withering herds, raids along the borders. "My king," an elder farmer rasped, his face grey with hunger, "our soil gives us nothing. The gods turn their faces away. Without aid, our people will starve before winter ends." Behind him, a hunter stepped forward, bandages wrapped tight around his arm. "The Ironfong pack has taken our hunting grounds. My men were ambushed. We barely escaped with our lives." Their words should not have shaken me. I was an alpha, their alpha, the king chosen by blood and bond to lead them. But my chest tightened all the same. I kept my expression cold, unreadable, even as the truth clawed at me. We were crumbling. The kingdom that had once stretched proud and untouchable was being eaten alive by famine, by enemies, by despair. And I was failing them. "Go," I said finally, my voice carrying the steel they needed to hear. "Return to your clans. Supplies will be sent." It was a promise I wasn't certain I could keep, but they didn't need to know that. They needed their king to be unshaken, to believe, even when I did not. The heavy doors closed behind them, leaving only silence and the circle of my advisors. The elders, draped in their ceremonial robes, shifted uncomfortably. I could feel their eyes on me, like thorns pressing into skin. Finally, Elder Blaine cleared his throat. His voice was thin, but it cut through the room like a blade. "The kingdom weakens, Kalen. We cannot hold out much longer." I turned my gaze on him, sharp and cold. "You think I don't know that?" His hands tightened on his staff, but he did not lower his eyes. "There is a way." The others leaned forward. My wolf stirred uneasily beneath my skin. RYTH's gaze flicked to my brother, who sat quietly at my side. Leor, gentle, golden-haired, his presence like a soft breeze in the storm of this court. My brother was everything I was not, delicate where I was hard, tender where I was sharp. His soft omega scent filled the chamber like honey, easing the harshness of the air. The thought of him in danger twisted my gut. "The Crestmoon Kingdom," RYTH said slowly, as if testing the words on his tongue. "Their armies are unmatched. Their walls impenetrable. Their king, feared by all. With their alliance, Moonfong would rise again." I frowned. And what would they demand in return? Silence. And then, the words I had dreaded. "A royal omega." My wolf snarled. My fists curled tight on the arm of my throne. I didn't need him to say it. I already knew who he meant. "Leor." My brother shifted beside me, his hands folded in his lap, his face pale but composed. He didn't protest. He never did. "No," I growled. "I will not hand him over like some coin to buy soldiers." "It is not a demand," RYTH pressed. "It is an opportunity." The Crestmoon King sent word himself. He will accept no tribute, no gold, no land. Only a bond, a marriage with a royal omega. If we accept, our people live. If we refuse, he let the silence finish the thought. I clenched my jaw, so hard it ached. I had heard the stories of Crestmoon's king. A shadow ruler, rarely seen, his armies moving like storms across the land. Some said he was more beast than man. Others whispered he was blessed, or cursed, by the gods themselves. I had never seen him. No one I trusted had. But I knew enough. His power was real. And now he wanted my brother. The chamber was heavy with expectation. The elders waited for me to agree, to surrender what was most precious. My wolf raged, but I could not ignore the truth. Without aid, my people would die. Leor's soft voice broke the silence. "Brother." I turned to him, my chest burning. His eyes, the same gold as our mother's, met mine with quiet strength. "If this is what saves our kingdom, I will do it." The air left me like a blow. I wanted to refuse. To tell him no, that I would find another way, that I would bleed the world itself dry before giving him up. But I saw the determination in his gaze, gentle but firm. Leor might have been soft, but he was no coward. My throat tightened. Slowly, I nodded. "Then I will take you there myself. If Crestmoon dares mistreat you, they will answer to me." The elders murmured approval, their shoulders easing. To them, the matter was settled. To me, it was only the beginning. The journey north stretched long and harsh. Snow began to fall the further we rode, until the roads turned white beneath our wheels. The air grew sharper, carrying the bite of iron and frost. My wolf prowled restlessly the closer we drew to Crestmoon, unsettled by the strange energy that seemed to hang in the air. Leor, wrapped in furs beside me in the carriage, watched the snow drift past with wide eyes. It's beautiful, he whispered. I did not answer. To me, the beauty was a lie. Beneath it lay power sharp enough to cut. When at last the kingdom came into view, even I could not disguise my awe. The palace rose like a mountain itself, carved from black stone that gleamed like glass. Silver veins ran through the walls, glowing faintly as though alive. Towers speared into the sky, crowned with banners that whipped in the icy wind. It was not a palace. It was a fortress, a declaration of strength. Our party passed through gates so vast they could have swallowed my throne room whole. No guards shouted. No horns blew. The gates opened in silence, as if the very walls obeyed some unseen command. Servants met us with bowed heads, their eyes lowered. The king will see you, one murmured, in time. Not now. The insult was sharp, though I kept my face unreadable. My brother's betrothal was a matter of alliance and honor, yet Cressman's king could not even be bothered to greet us. My wolf bristled, but I said nothing that we were led to chambers vast enough to house a clan. Fire burned in great stone hearths, casting shadows across silken rugs and carved walls. It should have been warm, comfortable. But the weight of the palace pressed down, suffocating. That night, as Leor drifted to sleep, I sat restless by the fire. The silence of the fortress was unnatural. Too still. Too heavy. My wolf shifted uneasily, ears pricked, muscles tense. The air carried a scent I couldn't name. Sharp, electric, like the crack before lightning strikes. Sleep would not come. At last, I rose and slipped from the chamber, my boots echoing softly on cold stone. I told myself I only needed air, a moment to clear my thoughts before dawn's audience. But deep inside, something else stirred. A pull. I followed it. Through corridors, across gardens of ice-lit fountains, past torches that flickered as if bowing to some invisible presence. And then, I saw him. A man stood at the edge of the courtyard, tall and broad, black hair catching the moonlight. His shoulders were wrapped in a dark cloak, his stance proud, unyielding. He turned slightly, and silver eyes met mine. The world stilled. His scent hit me like a storm. Spiced smoke, sharp steel, something older, deeper. My chest clenched, heat flooding my veins. And then it happened. The burn. The fire. My ruts slammed into me without warning, savage and overwhelming. My body trembled, my breath came ragged. It was impossible. Ruts didn't come like this, sudden and violent. But the scent, his scent, drowned every thought. Our gazes locked. And in that moment, I knew I was lost. The stranger did not move. He only stood there, a shadow carved in silver light, his cloak stirring faintly in the icy wind. But his eyes, God's, his eyes, pinned me where I stood, molten silver that burned hotter than any flame. My body betrayed me instantly. Heat surged through my veins, pounding low in my belly. My breath came faster, chest rising and falling as the first claws of Rut dug into me. No, not here. Not now. I staggered back a step, trying to force air into my lungs. My ruts had always come steady, predictable. I had trained myself to control them, to master the instincts that made lesser alphas reckless. But this was like drowning. The stranger's lips curved, just slightly. You feel it. His voice was low, rough-edged, carrying that same impossible weight as his scent. I clenched my jaw. Stay back. He tilted his head, amused, but he didn't step closer. He didn't need to. Every breath I drew was filled with him. My wolf pressed against my skin, restless, desperate. I said. My words broke off, a growl tearing out instead. The stranger chuckled, soft and deep, the sound brushing over my skin like a hand. So proud. Even now. I bristled. I am not. The heat flared sharp, cutting off the words. My knees threatened to buckle, my body tightening with instinct I could not fight. The rut was in full bloom, savage, unstoppable. The stranger finally stepped forward. Not fast, not threatening. Just one measured step, and then another. Every line of him radiated control. Strength. Power. My pulse thundered. I should have turned away. I should have forced myself back to my chamber, locked the door, chained myself if I had to. That was what a king did. What an alpha did. But when he stopped in front of me, close enough that his scent wrapped around me like smoke, all I could do was stare. You burn, he murmured. I can feel it. His words were not mocking, but certain, as though the truth belonged to him alone. Leave, I rasped though my voice shook. He smiled then, slow and devastating. Do you truly want me to? The answer caught in my throat. My wolf snarled in denial, a sound only I could hear inside. My body leaned forward before I could stop it, drawn into the heat of him. I don't even know your name, I said, grasping for reason, for control. Then call me what you wish. His eyes glittered, hungry, yet measured. He wasn't rushing, wasn't forcing. He was letting me unravel myself. And God's help me, I was. The tension between us snapped taut, sharp as a drawn bowstring. I felt every inch of him without a single touch. The breadth of his shoulders, the heat radiating from his skin, the way his gaze claimed me without question. I lifted my chin, forcing myself to meet that gaze. You think because my rut is triggered, I'll bow to you? Not bow, he said softly. Break. My breath hitched. Heat pulsed low, savage and insistent. My wolf howled against my ribs, clawing to answer the call in his voice. I turned sharply, desperate to put distance between us. This is madness. I don't. He caught my wrist. Not rough. Not cruel. Just a touch, firm and unyielding. My skin burned beneath his hand, the bond of rut snapping tight. I froze. The fire surged higher, my body trembling with the force of it. Slowly, I turned back, breath ragged. His face was close now, his silver eyes molten, his lips curved in the faintest challenge. Say it, he murmured. Say you don't want me, and I'll let you go. I opened my mouth. No words came, because it would have been a lie. Instead, the sound that tore out was a growl, low and raw. His answering smile was sharp, victorious. And then the distance between us vanished. I don't remember who moved first. Only the sudden heat, the clash of bodies, the sharp sound of breath and growls. His hands were on me, steady, commanding, while mine fisted in his cloak, dragging him closer despite every rational thought screaming against it. Our mouths met, fierce and unrelenting. Not gentle, not sweet. This was fire meeting storm, a battle and a surrender all at once. He tasted of smoke and steel, sharp and addictive. I wanted to bite. I wanted to claim. But then, gods, his teeth scraped my throat, right where my pulse thundered. My body arched, traitorous, baring my neck. The most vulnerable offering an alpha could give. Shame seared through me even as heat drowned it. I was supposed to be the one with control, the one to dominate. Yet here I was, trembling beneath his touch, rut driving me to the edge of ruin. He chuckled against my skin, low and knowing. Even kings can fall. I shuddered, a broken sound leaving me, half snarl, half plea. He didn't push further. Not yet. He let me fight myself, let me struggle with pride and need until the battle frayed. And when it did, when I finally gripped his shoulders not to push him away, but to hold him closer, his teeth sank lightly into my neck. Not deep, not the final claim, but a promise, a warning. My knees nearly gave. My wolf howled, half in fury, half in ecstasy. I should have fought harder. I should have stopped it. But all I could do was burn. All I could do was want. When I woke the next morning, the stranger was gone. The fire in my veins had cooled to ash, but my skin still ached with memory. My throat throbbed faintly, and when I touched it, my fingers brushed raised skin. A mark. My mark. But not where it should have been, on another's neck, branded by my teeth. No, it was me who had been marked. The world tilted. My stomach dropped. My wolf paced, restless, snarling, and yet satisfied. Bound. I staggered to my feet, heart hammering, fury and shame crashing over me. An alpha. A king. Claimed like some trembling omega. This could not be real. It had to be a mistake. A rut-driven madness. Something that would fade with time. It had to. Because if it didn't, then I was no longer in control of my own fate. The corridors of Crestmoon Castle gleamed with white stone polished, so smooth, they reflected torchlight like water. Every step echoed, sharp and hollow, as though the place itself waited, listening. I walked beside my brother, Leor, my hand resting lightly on the hilt of my sword. Not that I expected to draw it here, not in the middle of an official escort, but instinct demanded it. After last night, my wolf was restless, prowling under my skin. The mark on my neck burned. I had hidden it beneath my high-collared cloak, but I felt it all the same, a hot brand no cloth could hide. How could I have let it happen? How could I, Kaelin, Alpha of Valar, protector of my people, have been claimed like a weakling? Leor's soft voice pulled me back. Brother, are you well? His dark eyes searched my face, worry barely masked by courtly composure. My little brother always noticed too much. I forced my jaw tight, my expression carved from stone. I am fine. At the end of the grand hall, 2 guards in black and silver armor pushed open massive doors of carved silverwood. The throne room. It was vast, like a mountain's heart hollowed out. Pillars soared into darkness, banners of Crestmoon's sigil. A silver moon shrouded by cloud, draping down in solemn majesty. Power bled from every corner of this chamber. We advanced, the polished marble floor ringing beneath our boots. Leor kept his chin lifted, his omega grace flawless despite the eyes of dozens of nobles and warriors weighing on us. I matched his pace, my own shoulders squared, every nerve on edge. The court herald stepped forward, voice ringing across the hall. Behold, His Royal Majesty, Valyrius Duskbane, Sovereign of Crestmoon, Lord of the Silver Spires, Conqueror of the Northern Realms, Keeper of the Moon Oath. The crowd bowed low. A wave of reverence swept the chamber. My breath stilled, because from the shadowed dais at the far end of the hall, rising from his silver-carved throne, was no distant king. It was him, the stranger from last night, the one whose touch had triggered my rut, the one who had claimed me, left his mark blazing hot on my skin. Valyrius, King of Crestmoon. My heartbeat thundered so loud it drowned the herald's words. He wore a crown of black steel, cruelly elegant against his dark hair. His armor glinted with silver, every line of it precise, commanding. But his eyes, those impossible silver eyes, found mine across the distance, and the smirk that touched his lips was one I already knew too well. Heat rushed to my face. Leor bowed low, his voice steady, trained. Your Majesty, it is an honor to stand before the King of Crestmoon. Valyrius's gaze slid to him briefly, polite, detached. Prince Leor, welcome. I trust your journey was not burdensome. Leor smiled faintly, hands tight on his robes. We were well escorted, Majesty. My brother ensured our safety at every step. Valyrius's eyes flicked back to me, held me. The smirk deepened. My stomach dropped. Did no one else see it? The fire sparking between us, the bond pulling taut like a chain around my throat? The ministers and advisers began their recitations. Marriage terms, dowries, armies promised. Their voices blurred to a dull hum, words I could barely register. Because Valyrius wasn't listening. His attention kept dragging back to me, again and again, like a predator savoring the twitch of its prey. Each glance made my mark throb hotter. My wolf stirred, restless, answering him in ways I could not control. Gods no, this couldn't be real. If anyone here discovered the truth, that the mighty king they revered had bound not the delicate Omega bride promised him, but me, it would be more than scandal. It would be war. At last, the court fell silent. All eyes turned to Valyrius. The king rose. Slowly, deliberately, he descended the steps of the dais. Each stride echoed through the hush, silver cloak trailing like mist behind him. Nobles bowed their heads lower, as though his presence pressed on them like weight. But he wasn't looking at them. He was walking straight to me. My chest locked tight. I forced my shoulders back, fists curled at my sides. He wouldn't dare. He couldn't expose this here, in front of everyone. Yet when he stopped before me, so close I could taste his scent, rich, dark, maddening, my lungs refused to move. The entire court held its breath. Valyrius studied me openly, lips curving with dangerous amusement. His voice, when it came, was velvet wrapped around iron. Your brother may speak of marriage, he said, letting his gaze flick toward Leor for only a heartbeat before returning to me. And your council may speak of treaties. Then he leaned closer, low enough that only I could hear the next words, his breath ghosting against my ear. But kingdoms are not bound by paper, Kaelin. They are bound by blood, by bond. The mark on my neck burned like fire. My wolf roared in answer, clawing to submit. Before I could stop myself, a growl ripped from my throat, low, furious, but shaking with something dangerously close to want. Valyrius's smirk widened, satisfied. And in that moment, I understood with terrifying clarity. He wasn't going to settle for my brother. He wanted me. The corridors of Crestmoon Castle gleamed with white stone polished so smooth they reflected torchlight like water. Every step echoed, sharp and hollow, as though the place itself waited, listening. I walked beside my brother, Leor, my hand resting lightly on the hilt of my sword. Not that I expected to draw it here, not in the middle of an official escort, but instinct demanded it. After last night, my wolf was restless, prowling under my skin. The mark on my neck burned. I had hidden it beneath my high-collared cloak, but I felt it all the same, a hot brand no cloth could hide. How could I have let it happen? How could I, Kaelin, Alpha of Valar, protector of my people, have been claimed like a weakling? Leor's soft voice pulled me back. Brother, are you well? His dark eyes searched my face, worry barely masked by courtly composure. My little brother always noticed too much. I forced my jaw tight, my expression carved from stone. I am fine. At the end of the grand hall, 2 guards in black and silver armor pushed open massive doors of carved silverwood. The throne room. It was vast, like a mountain's heart hollowed out. Pillars soared into darkness, banners of Crestmoon's sigil. A silver moon shrouded by cloud, draping down in solemn majesty. Power bled from every corner of this chamber. We advanced, the polished marble floor ringing beneath our boots. Leor kept his chin lifted, his omega grace flawless despite the eyes of dozens of nobles and warriors weighing on us. I matched his pace, my own shoulders squared, every nerve on edge. The court herald stepped forward, voice ringing across the hall. Behold, His Royal Majesty, Valyrius Duskbane, Sovereign of Crestmoon, Lord of the Silver Spires, Conqueror of the Northern Realms, Keeper of the Moon Oath. The crowd bowed low. A wave of reverence swept the chamber. My breath stilled, because from the shadowed dais at the far end of the hall, rising from his silver-carved throne, was no distant king. It was him, the stranger from last night, the one whose touch had triggered my rut, the one who had claimed me, left his mark blazing hot on my skin. Valyrius, King of Crestmoon. My heartbeat thundered so loud it drowned the herald's words. He wore a crown of black steel, cruelly elegant against his dark hair. His armor glinted with silver, every line of it precise, commanding. But his eyes, those impossible silver eyes, found mine across the distance, and the smirk that touched his lips was one I already knew too well. Heat rushed to my face. Leor bowed low, his voice steady, trained. Your Majesty, it is an honor to stand before the King of Crestmoon. Valyrius's gaze slid to him briefly, polite, detached. Prince Leor, welcome. I trust your journey was not burdensome. Leor smiled faintly, hands tight on his robes. We were well escorted, Majesty. My brother ensured our safety at every step. Valyrius's eyes flicked back to me. Held me. The smirk deepened. My stomach dropped. Did no one else see it? The fire sparking between us. The bond pulling taut like a chain around my throat. The ministers and advisors began their recitations. Marriage terms, dowries, armies promised. Their voices blurred to a dull hum. Words I could barely register. Because Valyrius wasn't listening. His attention kept dragging back to me, again and again, like a predator savoring the twitch of its prey. Each glance made my mark throb hotter. My wolf stirred, restless, answering him in ways I could not control. Gods no, this couldn't be real. If anyone here discovered the truth, that the mighty king they revered had bound not the delicate Omega bride promised him, but me, it would be more than scandal. It would be war. At last, the court fell silent. All eyes turned to Valyrius. The king rose. Slowly, deliberately, he descended the steps of the dais. Each stride echoed through the hush, silver cloak trailing like mist behind him. Nobles bowed their heads lower, as though his presence pressed on them like weight. But he wasn't looking at them. He was walking straight to me. My chest locked tight. I forced my shoulders back, fists curled at my sides. He wouldn't dare. He couldn't expose this here, in front of everyone. Yet when he stopped before me, so close I could taste his scent, rich, dark, maddening, my lungs refused to move. The entire court held its breath. Valyrius studied me openly, lips curving with dangerous amusement. His voice, when it came, was velvet wrapped around iron. Your brother may speak of marriage, he said, letting his gaze flick toward Leor for only a heartbeat before returning to me. And your council may speak of treaties. Then he leaned closer, low enough that only I could hear the next words, his breath ghosting against my ear. But kingdoms are not bound by paper, Kaelin. They are bound by blood, by bond. The mark on my neck burned like fire. My wolf roared in answer, clawing to submit. Before I could stop myself, a growl ripped from my throat, low, furious, but shaking with something dangerously close to want. Valyrius's smirk widened, satisfied. And in that moment, I understood with terrifying clarity. He wasn't going to settle for my brother. He wanted me. The audience with Crestmoon's court ended with polished bows and rehearsed courtesies. Promises were made, terms were spoken aloud, and every word left a bitter taste in my mouth. Because while the ministers prattled, I could feel him. Valyrius. Even when he returned to his throne, even when his expression was carved into that perfect kingly mask, his presence clung to me like a second skin. His gaze pressed against me, heavy, unyielding. He didn't need to speak for me to know. Last night had not been some passing accident. He had claimed me, and he had no intention of letting go. Back in our guest chambers, Leor paced, his omega scent sharp with unease. He looked lovely as always, dark hair gleaming in the firelight, robes arranged just so, every gesture softened with practiced grace. Yet his brow was furrowed, his lips pressed tight as he turned toward me. Brother, he began, hesitant. I do not mean to sound ungrateful, but is it not strange? I forced myself to meet his gaze, though my pulse throbbed at my throat. What is strange? The king, Leo said softly. His fingers twisted in the sleeve of his robe. He hardly looked at me, even when the herald named me as his betrothed. He spoke only the courtesies one gives to any guest. But you, Kaelin. His eyes narrowed faintly, searching my face. He looked at you. Heat surged through me, sharp and humiliating. I turned sharply away, hiding my expression as I adjusted my cloak. You're imagining things. Am I? His tone was gentle, but insistent. I felt it. The way his gaze followed you. The way he rose from the throne only when his eyes met yours. I clenched my teeth, gripping the edge of the table until my knuckles ached. Leo, in his innocence, could not know. He could not imagine the truth. That the bond mark burned beneath my collar, proof of a night I could neither accept nor deny. Forget it, I said, harsher than I intended. Kings have their ways. Perhaps he measures me, as an alpha, before entrusting his bond to our bloodline. Leo tilted his head, unconvinced but unwilling to push. He gave a small nod, retreating to his chamber with quiet footsteps. The moment the door closed behind him, I sagged into the chair, dragging a hand through my hair. My body burned, restless, unsatisfied. Every nerve screamed that Valyrius was near, that I was denying what had already been forged. I cursed under my breath. No, I would not yield. I was alpha, not prey, not prize. And yet, a knock split the silence. I froze. My wolf surged, recognizing the scent that slipped through the crack beneath the door before it even opened. Valyrius. The door swung wide without waiting for permission. He stepped inside with the quiet authority of one who owned not only the room, but the air itself. His crown was gone, his armor traded for black silk that clung to the lines of his body. Even without the trappings of kingship, he radiated command. My pulse leapt, traitorous. What are you doing here? I demanded, forcing steel into my voice. His silver eyes gleamed in the dim light. You know why I am here. He closed the door behind him with deliberate calm, the sound echoing like finality. I rose, fists clenched at my sides. You will not shame me before my brother. Before my people. Whatever happened last night. Whatever happened. Valyrius's voice cut through mine, low and dangerous. In 2 strides he was before me, towering, his presence suffocating. You mean the bond you carry on your neck? The mark that sings to me even now. Heat seared through my body, my wolf straining against my control. I did not choose this. His lips curved in a slow, devastating smirk. Neither did I. Yet here you are, mine. I growled, sharp and warning, but he only stepped closer. His hand rose, not touching, just hovering, fingers inches from the collar that hid his claim. My skin prickled, every nerve alight. You feel it, he murmured. Deny it with words if you wish, Kaelin, but your body betrays you. Even now. I wanted to shove him back, to roar, to bare my teeth and remind him that I was alpha, not some trembling omega to be toyed with. But my muscles refused. My wolf bowed low, shuddering with recognition, and I hated myself for it. His hand finally touched the fabric at my collar, tugging it down just enough for the mark to show. The bond pulsed hot, greedy, as his thumb brushed the edge of it. My knees weakened. Mine, Valyrius whispered. The single word carried more weight than any treaty. You were always meant to be mine. I forced air into my lungs, struggling against the pull. You are betrothed to my brother. Do you forget that? He chuckled softly, a sound that sent shivers down my spine. I forget nothing. The council may speak of arrangements, but I am king. My will decides. His gaze locked on mine, possessive and unyielding. And I will not share what is mine. Not with your brother. Not with anyone. My heart hammered. His words were madness, dangerous, impossible. And yet, as his scent wrapped around me, rich and dark, my wolf howled its agreement. I wanted to resist. Gods, I tried. But when Valyrius leaned closer, lips brushing the shell of my ear, a shudder tore through me. You will fight me, he said, his breath hot against my skin. I expect nothing less. But in the end, Kaelin. His teeth grazed lightly where his mark burned. You will yield. My breath caught, fury and want colliding in a storm I could not contain. And when he finally drew back, leaving me trembling and furious in the silence of the chamber, I knew one truth with bone-deep certainty. This was no alliance of kingdoms. This was a war. And the battlefield was me. The throne room was alive with murmurs. Ministers in robes of silver and deep blue crowded the long hall, their voices rising and falling like the tide. At the far end, King Valyrius sat upon his throne, carved from black stone and gleaming with inlaid runes. He looked every inch the ruler his reputation promised, calm, unyielding, untouchable. And yet, every time his silver eyes slid across the chamber, catching mine, my body betrayed me. My pulse jumped, my wolf straining toward him like a moth to flame. I fought to stand tall beside my brother, to project the strength expected of a crown prince. But inside, I was unraveling. I could still feel the bond mark throbbing beneath my collar. The councillor at Valyrius's right rose, his beard streaked with grey. "Your Majesty, the matter of the alliance must be clarified. Our guests," he gestured toward Leor and me, "have come in good faith. The Omega Prince stands ready for the union as agreed." A hush fell over the court. Leor lowered his gaze modestly, though I saw the flicker of nerves in his eyes. He had been raised for this, to be the perfect spouse, a bridge between kingdoms. But even he could not miss how the king had ignored him since our arrival. Valyrius leaned back in his throne, fingers drumming once against the armrest. His gaze swept the room before settling, not on Leor, as expected, but on me. Every muscle in my body locked. "The matter of the alliance," he said, his voice rich and commanding, "is indeed of importance." The ministers nodded eagerly, leaning forward. Valyrius rose from his throne with a predator's grace. The long cloak of midnight silk trailed behind him as he descended the steps. Every step echoed, silencing the hall. My throat went dry. He was walking toward us. Toward me. Leor straightened, smoothing his robe, clearly preparing for some gesture of recognition. But Valyrius did not look at him. His gaze was fixed on me, sharp and unrelenting. When he stopped before us, the hall seemed to hold its breath. "King Kaelin," he said, his tone deceptively even. My name on his lips sent a shiver down my spine. I forced myself to bow slightly. "Your Majesty." For a heartbeat, silence stretched between us. His scent, dark, intoxicating, coiled around me, seeping into my skin. My wolf whined, low and submissive, and I clenched my fists at my sides, furious with myself. Then, without warning, Valyrius reached out and adjusted the clasp of my cloak, his fingers brushing the skin just above my collar. It was a simple gesture, innocent perhaps to an unknowing eye, but I felt it like fire. His thumb lingered for a fraction too long, grazing where his mark lay hidden. I swallowed hard, fighting not to flinch. A ripple of murmurs swept through the ministers. Leor blinked, confusion flickering across his face. "Your Majesty?" he asked softly. Am I mistaken, or did you mean to address me?" Valyrius finally turned his head toward him, his expression unreadable. "You are not mistaken, Prince Leor. You were promised as the bridge between our kingdoms. But promises," his gaze slid back to me, "are not always the path fate carves." The words hit like a thunderclap. Gasps broke out across the chamber. The elder from my own delegation stiffened, outrage flashing in his eyes. "Your Majesty, with respect, such a union was agreed upon in council. To disregard it would be what?" Valyrius's voice cut like a blade. "Unwise. Dangerous. My kingdom does not bend to whispered warnings. I will choose what is mine." My chest tightened. He was doing this here? In front of everyone? Leor paled, looking between us, clearly unsettled. "Brother," he whispered, so low only I heard. "What is happening?" I couldn't answer. My tongue felt heavy, my wolf clawing at me from within, desperate to respond to Valyrius's dominance. I hated myself for it, for the way my body leaned forward, almost imperceptibly, as if pulled by invisible chains. Valyrius's gaze caught the movement. His lips curved, the faintest trace of a smirk. Possessive. Certain. He turned to address the court, his voice carrying with ease. "The alliance between our kingdoms will stand. Crestmoon does not break faith." A collective exhale rippled through the ministers. Relief. But then he added, his eyes never leaving mine. "The bond, however, will be mine to decide." The room erupted. Ministers argued, voices rising in alarm. My own councillors protested, their words lost in the storm. And through it all, Valyrius stood calm, immovable, like a storm given flesh. He reached out again, as if the chaos were beneath his notice, and adjusted the fall of my cloak one more time, his fingers brushing the exact spot of his mark. Heat shot through me, humiliating in its intensity. My breath caught, my wolf bowing low inside me, tail tucked in submission. And Valyrius smiled. It was small, sharp, and devastating. As though he knew. As though he wanted everyone to see it. When at last we were dismissed, I stormed from the throne room, heart pounding, fury and shame warring within me. My wolf still trembled, intoxicated by his nearness. Behind me, I heard Leor's uncertain voice speaking with one of the ministers, asking why the king's gaze had not lingered on him. I could not bear to hear it, because I already knew the answer. The truth I could not speak, the truth that would shatter everything. Valyrius had chosen, and he had chosen me. The corridors of Crestmoon Castle stretched long and silent as I stalked through them, my boots striking the polished stone with sharp finality. Servants scattered at my approach, heads bowed low, as though they sensed the storm building in me. I had tolerated enough. The throne room spectacle still burned in my mind. Valyrius touching me before the entire court, ignoring Leor as though he were a shadow, declaring that he alone would decide the bond. He had humiliated my brother. Humiliated me. No more. I shoved open the heavy doors to his private chambers without asking leave. The guards startled, one taking a step forward before freezing at the look I gave him. I was Alpha. I would not be denied. The chamber was vast, draped in black and silver silks, the air heavy with the scent of cedar and something darker. And there, standing by the window with the moonlight at his back, was Valyrius. He did not turn at the sound of my entrance. "You came," he said simply, his voice like velvet and steel. My fists clenched. "You humiliated my brother today." He finally looked at me. His silver eyes caught the light, sharp and unyielding. "I spoke the truth." "You spoke arrogance," I snapped, striding forward. "Leor was promised to you by council agreement. You said nothing to deny it until you decided to make a spectacle of me in front of the entire court." His expression did not flicker. "Would you rather I lied? Played along until the farce collapsed beneath us?" "Farce?" My voice rose, echoing off the vaulted ceiling. "You call my brother's betrothal a farce? He is Omega, chosen for his grace, prepared since birth to." "He is not mine," Valyrius interrupted, his voice deepening, resonating in my chest like a growl. He stepped forward at last, and the air thickened with his presence. "You are." My breath caught despite myself. The bond mark seared at his words, and my wolf stirred, whining in recognition. I forced it down, shaking my head. "I am Alpha, stronger than most in my generation. I was not bred to submit." He stopped before me, close enough that his scent washed over me, dark, commanding, inescapable. "And yet your body yields. You know it. I know it. You feel the bond burn between us even now. I didn't choose this." His lips curved faintly, not with mockery, but with something like inevitability. "No, you didn't. Nor did I." His hand lifted slowly, deliberately, and brushed the edge of my collar. The mark pulsed, alive under his touch. But fate is not so easily denied. I stepped back, breaking the contact, chest heaving. "What are you, Valyrius? No Alpha should be able to do this to another. No Alpha should be able to." My voice faltered, shame burning my cheeks. "To mark me. To drive me to rut." For the first time, I saw him soften. Not in weakness, but in revelation. He exhaled slowly. "You deserve the truth." Silence pressed heavy between us. Then he spoke, each word deliberate. "I am not merely Alpha. I am an enigma." The word struck me like a blow. My heart lurched. I had heard whispers of such a thing in old tales. Legends spoken by firelight, dismissed as myth. An Alpha beyond Alphas. A ruler not just by crown, but by nature itself. "That is impossible," I whispered, though the tremor in my voice betrayed me. "Impossible?" He stepped closer, forcing me back until my shoulders brushed the carved post of his bed. His eyes blazed, his presence filling every breath I took. "You tell me, Kaelin, was it impossible when your rut tore through you at my touch? When your wolf bent beneath mine? When this mark claimed you?" I shuddered, my body trembling with the memory my mind refused to summon. I thought it was sickness. That it would pass. It will not pass." His tone left no room for doubt. "Because we are bound. You are Alpha, yes, but even Alphas yield to enigma. That is why no one knows. Why I keep it hidden. Power like mine," his jaw tightened. "It unsettles kingdoms. It makes allies into rivals, friends into enemies. Better they think me only king. Better they whisper of armies, not of the blood that runs in my veins." The weight of his confession pressed against me, heavy as the night sky. "You should have told me," I said, voice raw. "You should have told me before binding me into this madness." His hand rose again, not to claim, but to cup my jaw, firm but steady. "Would you have listened? Would you have believed, before your wolf proved it true?" My lips parted, but no words came. I hated that he was right. He leaned in, his forehead nearly brushing mine, his voice lowering to something that slid beneath my skin. "I did not want Leor. He is fine, graceful, worthy of a throne. But not mine. Not my equal. Not my mate. His thumb stroked just once along my cheek. You are strong, Kaelin. You fight even when you tremble. You meet me eye to eye when others bow. That is why I will not let you go. My heart thundered. Fury and heat tangled within me until I could not separate them. I should have pushed him away. Should have struck him for his arrogance. Instead, I whispered, "You are mad." His smile was sharp, unrepentant. Mad, perhaps. But you are mine. I swallowed hard, every instinct screaming denial, every bone in my body betraying me with want. You cannot simply decide that, I said, though the words shook. I already have, he answered. His breath ghosted against my lips, though he did not close the final distance. He lingered there, letting the bond burn between us, letting the tension stretch until I thought it would break me. Then, softly but with absolute certainty, he said, "You can fight me, Kaelin. I expect nothing less. But one day, you will not only bear my mark. You will accept it." He stepped back at last, leaving me trembling, breathless, my wolf howling in my chest. And though I hated myself for it, a part of me already knew he was right. I had survived wars, betrayals, and battles that would have killed lesser men. But nothing felt as difficult as this. Standing in the quiet of Valyrius's private chambers, his eyes locked on me, as though I were the only thing in the world that mattered. The council session earlier still echoed in my mind. Valyrius had ended it with a single, brutal declaration, his voice carrying across the vast marble hall, his gaze fixed only on me. "You are not mistaken, Prince Leor. You were promised as the bridge between our kingdoms. But promises," his gaze slid back to me, "are not always the path fate carves." The court had erupted in whispers, Leor's eyes had widened, and my chest had burned with both shame and relief. The weight of it still pressed against me now, making every breath a struggle that I hadn't wanted this. Or maybe I had. My wolf certainly had, snapping and pacing inside me every time Valyrius came near, desperate to close the distance. My mind screamed against it, but my body betrayed me every time. And now, alone with him, there was no court to distract me, no brother to shield, no excuses left to give. "Why?" I rasped, the word breaking from me harsher than intended. "Because you are mine," he said simply, his voice a low rumble that slid down my spine. "From the moment you walked into my kingdom, I knew. Your brother was never meant for me. The bond never sang for him. It only ever sang for you." I flinched. My wolf howled in agreement, tail raised, eager to press into him. I clenched my fists to keep from moving. I didn't choose this. No, Valyrius stepped closer, his presence swallowing the air. But I did. And so did your body, your soul. Your wolf doesn't lie, Kaelin. His hand rose, calloused fingers brushing lightly against the edge of my jaw. I should have stepped back, should have shoved him away. But my body leaned forward before I could stop it, a tremor running through me. "You're insufferable," I muttered, though my voice had lost its edge. "You think because you're strong, because you're a king, you can just take what you want." "I don't think," he murmured, leaning closer until his breath ghosted my cheek. "I know." Heat curled low in my stomach. Spirits, I hated him for it. For the way he made me want made me weak. "Valyrius." My voice cracked, betraying me. His lips brushed the shell of my ear. "Say my name like that again." My breath caught. For a heartbeat, I couldn't think, couldn't breathe, couldn't be. And then anger returned, sharp and desperate, the only weapon I had left. Silence stretched between us. My pulse thundered in my ears. He was still too close, too warm, too much. Every instinct screamed to flee, to claw free of the bond before it devoured me whole. But another part, deeper, truer, ached to lean in, to surrender. My wolf whined inside me, the sound sharp and needy. "You'll destroy me," I whispered. Valyrius's lips curved, not in triumph, but something gentler. "No, I'll make you stronger." When his mouth finally met mine, I didn't resist. I couldn't. It wasn't gentle, not at first. His kiss was demanding, claiming, his hand fisting in my tunic, as if he feared I'd vanish. And maybe I should have fought harder. But my body betrayed me, pressing flush against him, my lips parting under the weight of his need. A groan tore from me, shameful and raw. His tongue brushed mine, and I shuddered, clutching at his shoulders like a drowning man. The bond flared between us, searing, molten, undeniable. "Mine," he growled against my lips. "Yes," I breathed before I could stop myself. The admission ripped from me like a secret I'd buried too long. A week had passed since that night, the night that left me trembling, marked, and unsettled. 7 days of restless nights and taut nerves, each heartbeat reminding me of Valyrius, the stranger who had claimed me, whose presence had triggered my wolf in ways I could barely understand. Crestman's halls were as majestic as I remembered, but every corridor, every shadow, every whisper reminded me of him. Leor walked beside me through the gardens, careful and polite, but I saw the worry etched across his face. "Kaelin," he began hesitantly. Why does he only speak to you? Always you?" I tried to reach him. His voice faltered, uncertainty and hurt clear in his eyes. I clenched my jaw, my chest tight. "It's nothing," I said quickly, though my wolf growled low. "You're imagining it." Leor studied me, then nodded slowly. "Perhaps," he murmured, though I could see he still wondered. Over the past week, Valyrius had made his presence known in ways subtle, yet impossible to ignore. Sometimes he would appear silently at the edge of the garden, watching me with piercing silver eyes. My wolf reacted instinctively, restless, agitated, alert. Nights were the worst. Sleep came fitfully, haunted by his mark, by the bond pulsing between us. I hated it. I hated him. And yet, a part of me ached for him, that dark, magnetic pull I could not resist. Finally, the council meeting arrived. Both kingdoms had gathered to finalize the alliance, and the betrothal of Leor, my brother the intended Omega, was to be confirmed. The hall was alive with whispers and cautious glances. I tried to steel myself, but when Valyrius entered, the room seemed to shift. His presence was overwhelming, commanding, and magnetic, as though the air itself bent to his will. My wolf growled low in my chest. The head of the council cleared his throat. "There is the matter remaining," he said, looking around the room. "The betrothal that will solidify the alliance." Valyrius rose from his seat. Silence fell. My stomach twisted in knots. Every eye turned to him. "My lords and ladies," he began, voice low and resonant, "there has been confusion regarding the proposed union." A ripple of whispers ran through the hall. I felt Leor stiffen beside me. "The Omega Prince," Valyrius continued, his silver eyes locking on mine, "was meant to be pledged as my mate. But he is not. He cannot be. I will not bind him, nor claim him. That bond does not sing for him." Shock swept the room. Courtiers gasped. Some mouths fell open. A few muttered under their breath. Leor's jaw dropped. "What do you mean, sire?" One of Crestman's nobles demanded, stepping forward. "This betrothal was agreed upon by both courts. You cannot simply." Valyrius's gaze snapped toward him. The room fell silent, as if the wind itself had stilled. "I can," he said, voice sharp and commanding. "This is my claim. Kaelin is my mate. He bears my mark. He is mine, and no other shall contest it." Whispers erupted again. Another council member shouted, "This will disrupt the alliance. For the king he is an alpha. Political duty." "I care not for duty over truth," Valyrius interrupted, stepping closer to me. His presence alone silenced the room, his silver eyes sweeping over the assembly like a storm. "The alliance will hold. Kaelin is my mate, and he is the one who completes what destiny has bound. The Omega Prince was never meant to claim my bond." I felt my knees weaken. My wolf bristled, a mixture of fear, excitement, and undeniable desire. I swallowed hard. The room seemed impossibly large, impossibly small, my pulse thrumming so violently I thought it would burst. Leor looked at me, eyes wide with shock and dawning understanding. He never meant to claim me?" he whispered. I nodded slowly, chest tight. "No, only me." The courtiers muttered, debating among themselves, but none dared challenge the king further. His presence, his aura, and the undeniable authority of an enigma alpha left no room for argument. Slowly, the whispers died down. Acceptance settled over the hall, uneasy but firm. Later, when the council had cleared, Valyrius led me to his private chamber. Silence filled the space, the weight of the court's tension lingering. He closed the door and turned to me, eyes intense. "You've ruined everything," I hissed, shoving lightly at his chest though he didn't budge. "My brother, my kingdom." "Your brother deserves someone who sees him," Valyrius cut in, his tone firm but not cruel. "Not someone who would only use him as a bargaining chip. Do you think I would dishonor him so? Do you think me blind to his heart? He is precious, yes, but not mine." My throat tightened. "And me? You would dishonor me instead." "No," his gaze softened then, and for the first time, the steel in him cracked. "I would treasure you. I would burn kingdoms for you. You are not dishonored, Kaelin. You are chosen." Silence stretched between us. My pulse thundered in my ears. He was still too close, too warm, too much. Every instinct screamed to flee, to claw free of the bond before it devoured me whole. But another part, deeper, truer, ached to lean in, to surrender. My wolf whined inside me, the sound sharp and needy. The tension shifted then. The hunger remained, but beneath it was something quieter, something almost reverent. His hands gentled, tracing the line of my spine, grounding me as much as they held me captive. "You have no idea how long I've waited for this," he whispered, pressing his forehead to mine. "For you." I swallowed hard, my chest tight. "And what if I'm not enough? What if I can't give you what you need?" Valyrius pulled back, just enough to look me in the eye. "You already have. You gave me yourself. That is more than enough." The sincerity in his voice undid me more than any dominance could. Against all reason, all pride, I believed him. And for the first time, I let myself stop fighting. I leaned into him fully, letting his warmth wrap around me, letting the bond hum not as a chain, but as a lifeline. Perhaps I was already ruined. But if ruin felt like this, maybe it wasn't such a curse. In the days that followed, the tension slowly eased. Valyrius's subtle touches, possessive glances, and unwavering presence reminded me constantly of what was ours. Nights remained restless, but no longer filled with fear, only anticipation, curiosity, and acceptance. After the storm of heat and confession quieted, we sat together by the fire. My head rested against his shoulder, his arm heavy and protective around me. The silence was comfortable now, the kind that spoke of something settled between us. A knock came at the door, hesitant. A healer stepped inside, bowing low. "Forgive the intrusion, Your Majesty. I only came to check on the king's mate." The words made my heart stutter. Mate. Spirits. The world was already calling me that. The healer's hands were light as they pressed against my wrist, then my temple. Her brows furrowed. "Strange," she murmured. "What?" I asked sharply, pulling back. "Your energy feels doubled," she said slowly, her eyes flicking between Valyrius and me. "As though something new stirs within you." Heat rushed to my face. My stomach twisted. Not with fear, not exactly, but with something close to awe. Valyrius's grip tightened around me, his wolf bristling protectively. "Explain." The healer only smiled faintly. "It is too soon to be certain. But life has a way of making itself known. You should rest, my lord." Weeks passed. The kingdoms were united under the new alliance, stronger than ever. Lior's initial shock faded into relief. He understood that Valyrius had never intended to claim him, only me, and he smiled quietly when he saw the bond between us. I was fully claimed, my wolf and my heart aligned with Valyrius. Something subtle and undeniable stirred within me, a faint sign that the enigma bond was creating life, the ultimate proof of our connection. I leaned into him, finally unafraid. I was claimed. I was bonded. I was his. And for the first time, I was certain, love always prevails.